If you remember, in my One Good Cop review, I gave that movie 2 stars because I was going to give it 1 star, but I mentioned that there was a movie in the VHS collection that was so abysmal, so flat out horrible, that I had to give it 1 star. And it would kind of be the movie in the collection that gets 1 star. This is that movie, and I'm about to take it seriously like it's a movie. I don't know what I'm doing at this point. I'm just kind of ad-libbing it. Here we go.
Hello? Popcorn delivery?
Put a little weekend in your week. Rent a video.
The Sweetest Thing. It's a 2002 romantic comedy in brackets there, because none of it is funny. The case here, you see in the middle, Cameron Diaz, and then there's Selma Blair and Christina Applegate. And the tagline on the front of this case is, "They're looking for a few good men." I'm not sure why this movie references a few good men. It has nothing to do with a few good men. This is one of the most obvious ploys, I guess, to wrap in fans of A Few Good Men I've ever seen. You know, maybe you'd be down at the Blockbuster and you'd see this and you'd see the tagline, "Oh, they're looking for a few good men? I like A Few Good Men, so maybe you'll like this." The tagline on the movie poster is different from the tagline on the VHS. The tagline on the movie poster is a romantic comedy without the sugar. And if by sugar you mean all the romance and the chemistry and, you know, the charm that make, you know, romantic comedies worth watching, then I'd say, yeah, this really is a romantic comedy without the sugar. It has Cameron Diaz, and Cameron Diaz is one of the most talented actresses of the 90s. She's in some really good stuff, and when she applies herself, you can tell that she's really giving it her all, and some of the movies she's in are really fun. She's in The Mask, excellent in that. She's in Vanilla Sky, Charlie's Angels. She's in There's Something About Mary, which I would argue is the best film of her entire career. But if she's not given a good script or good direction, she can't do anything. And this movie is trying to bank off her success in There's Something About Mary, which is a raunchy romantic comedy with a lot of, sex jokes and stuff. So this movie is trying to capitalize off that success and say, look, Cameron is back for some more raunchy antics. This is written by some lady who claims that it's based off her experiences with her gal pals around San Francisco. And I'm just gonna come out and say it right now. This is not a feminist movie. It really wants to pretend like it's a feminist movie, like, man, smash the patriarchy.
So what's up? Oh, the usual. Defending the rights of my broken-hearted clients and trying to squeeze every single penny out of their miserable cheating spouses.
It'd be like if Thelma and Louise, the whole movie, they just talked about penises and how much they liked penises. And that's not the point of feminism. And I think this movie really misses the mark. Thelma and Louise is also in the VHS collection. I'm going to be reviewing it here shortly. And I can say for a fact that Thelma and Louise is a good example of, an actual, feminist movie told from a position of female empowerment. This is not that. This is just a really lame attempt at trying to bank off Cameron Diaz's name And it's definitely, like, probably the worst movie of her career. I'm sure she's embarrassed about this. It's a complete shambles. This movie presents a really weird false dichotomy, where the only two options for women, get this, you can either, like, dump all the guys, even the ones that, you know, are potentially nice, like, you can dump all of them and be a complete narcissist who just exists to, like, dump every guy, or you can get married and find one guy and stick with him and not have any fun. And, you know, there is a third option. You just not worry about guys at all and, you know, screw the patriarchy. And that's what Thelma and Louise do at the end of Thelma and Louise. They just say, to heck with men. We don't need to have guys. And they drive off the cliff. That's a feminist message. This movie is just, hey, I want a penis, I want a guy, I want a guy, and there's the penis song. Just in the middle of this weird romantic comedy, again in quotes, they break out into this song about the male genitals, even though this isn't a musical. There's no other, like, musical numbers in this. It's a decision that makes no sense, and there are a lot of decisions that make no sense in this movie. But again, this movie really wants to be, you know, provocative, and, you know, man, it's 2002 now, man, we're really showing them what for. So the back cover here says, hilarious, Diaz is a knockout and a scream, from Anderson Jones Entertainment Online. 3 of Hollywood's hottest stars will show you a good time in this uninhibited comic gym. So again, just referring to these 3 perfectly competent actresses as just Hollywood's hottest stars. Like, if that's not objectifying women, I don't know what is. I mean, it's flipping Cameron Diaz. She's a good actress if you just give her a good movie. But again, Christina Walters, Cameron Diaz, and her party-hopping pals, Courtney and Jane, are 3 sexy singles who love the nightlife. At the city's most exclusive dance club, it's never mentioned in the movie, I think the description just makes that up, Christina unexpectedly meets Peter, her perfect match. Discovering the next morning that he's left town, she and Courtney set out on a wild road trip to find him. But the road to Mr. Right is paved with seductive surprises and hilarious misadventures. The Sweetest Thing puts a totally fresh twist on the search for true love. So the description of this movie makes it sound like it's a road trip movie, like Dumb and Dumber or Thelma and Louise. But this isn't a road trip movie. The first, like, 30 minutes are in San Francisco. Then they go on a road trip that's like 3.5 hours just across California, which isn't that far. And not like up and down California, just like, you know, to the Nevada border. That's like half the width of Colorado. So not that far. Not a road trip. So it's like 3.5 hours, and the only hilarious misadventures that happen on the road to Mr. Right are like the glory hole sequence, which I'm not going to describe in detail. You can kind of put in the details for yourself, but I'll just say that it's like a Shane Dawson comedy. Not Cool has a glory hole sequence, right? So picture like a Shane Dawson comedy, and that's how funny and provocative this movie is.
Fuck it list. Okay, what is this? Some kind of bucket list?
It's not provocative. It really wants to be like, yeah, it's an uninhibited comic gym, but just because you're edgy and you say everything and you know, you're like, penis, that doesn't mean you're funny. It just means you don't know when to shut up, and, you know, because nobody's laughing. There's just a joke where an old guy says the F word a bunch. I wish I had sex. Also, I'm 80, so it's funny because I'm 80 and I'm saying I'm having sex. Like, I feel like this is what an alien would think like a Farrelly Brothers comedy is like. Because, I mean, the Farrelly Brothers have plenty of sex jokes in their movies, but they're executed well because, like I said, the Farrelly Brothers know what they're doing. But this is just based off some random San Francisco woman's romantic misadventures, I guess. You know, the end here says, the sweetest thing puts a totally fresh twist on the search for true love. I would argue that it absolutely doesn't. The story of this is completely generic. It's just Cameron Diaz sees a hot guy within the first 15 minutes, falls in love with him, and then they get together at the end and they get married. That's a very standard romantic comedy structure right there. Now, this movie sets up at the beginning that Cameron Diaz is a player. I guess that's supposed to be the twist, that she's a promiscuous woman in the 21st century. Wow, really breaking new ground here. So I guess that's kind of the twist, except we're never given time to see how much of a player she is because, like I said, this hot generic white guy shows up in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Literally the minute they're at the first party of the movie. If this movie abandoned the part where they go on this trip to find him at the wedding or whatever, it might actually work, because then, you know, the premise would be that Cameron's a player, and, you know, she spends the whole movie like ruining these guys, and, you know, that'd be, you know, it'd still be really cringy, but at least it would put a new twist on the romantic comedy. But that's not what this does. She spends the whole movie just talking about how great this guy is, and I want to have sex with this guy.
Give me your number. It's been like 3 days. I saw swingers. I know how these things work.
So this movie doesn't put a twist on anything, romantic comedy or otherwise. Now, there's something about Mary. That's a movie that puts an actual twist on you know, the romantic comedy genre. Several twists actually throughout its runtime. The first twist, and I'd argue the best twist in the movie, is that it starts off and you think it's going to be a romantic teen rom-com like 16 Candles or something. You know, because Ben Stiller and Cameron Diaz are young and it's the 70s, and then the zipper scene happens and you flash forward like 20 years and everyone is a broken shell of who they used to be, and that's when the movie actually starts. That's a really clever twist, and I think it's absolutely genius, and the Farrelly brothers absolutely nail it. And it makes the movie really funny, and that Ben Stiller is like this broken husk of a guy, and he's not who he used to be, and he's like having this deep-seated regret, and it makes the movie really funny. And Cameron Diaz is also, again, really funny in it because, you know, she's a good actress, and if she's given a good script to read, then the end result will be a funny movie. Simple as that. So the only real twist in The Sweetest Thing is that it's Cameron thinks that she's going to the wedding of the guy's brother. So, she goes to the wedding and she thinks, oh, it's the guy's brother who's getting married, so I still have a shot at securing this generic real estate agent who has no defining characteristics. He doesn't have a personality. He's just a random beefcake. But she goes to the wedding thinking it's gonna be his brother's wedding. But then, oh no, plot twist and spoilers if you actually care about spoilers for this. Spoilers, it's actually his wedding. He's the one getting married. And Cameron has interrupted his wedding, and she has the hots for him. And oh no, what are you gonna do?
The holy matrimony of Judith Catherine Webb and Peter Donahue.
Except, get this, at the party, the brother specifically says, he's coming, he says something along these lines, that's why you're coming to my wedding this Saturday, right? He says it's his wedding. The brother says it's his wedding. But then the movie expects us to believe that the whole time it was the main guy's wedding, even though the script directly contradicts this. If you actually listen to the movie, you will hear the brother say, you're coming to my wedding this Saturday, right? He says it's his wedding, not like, hey, you're having a wedding this Saturday, right? He says it's his, it's the brother's wedding. So you can't act like something's a twist if you're so bad at writing a script that the twist you set up doesn't even work because it's been established previously that something else, that it wasn't going to happen like that. That's not how twists work. You've got to be clever with twists and set them up in such a way that the preconceived, what the audience thought was going to happen could happen, but instead it goes this way. Not the way the audience thought it was going to happen is what should have happened, but you're just so bad at writing dialogue that you directly contradicted yourself. That's not honest. That's just cheating the audience and, I guess, giving them collective amnesia and trying to be like, oh, you just remember it wrong. The brother didn't say it was his wedding. But he did, unfortunately. I have it on tape. What are you trying to pull, you shitty movie? My gosh, I have it right here on tape. He says, you're coming to my wedding this Saturday, right? And also, if it's the main guy's wedding, twist or not, what's he doing at a club trying to pick up women? This guy's just an asshole. This guy is just a scum. I mean, the brother shouldn't be there either trying to pick up women. He has like two women on his arms and he's like, I'm gonna get saucy tonight. But why is everyone in this movie such a weird, narcissistic, like just sex-hungry maniac? Like, it's just so lame. And this is another problem with the movie, is that Cameron Diaz does not come off as likable in this. She just comes off as an entitled, like, lunatic who just manipulates guys, and not just manipulates guys, but like manipulates everyone around her, plays with people's heads. She and her girlfriend, Christina Applegate, are just like two legitimately just unlikable characters who just go to parties and scream about, I want a penis now, I want to make out, I want some sex. The only remotely likable character in this, I'm going to give this movie this, is Selma Blair's character, Jane, who, at the beginning of the movie is coming down off a breakup and she's like crying And it's actually kind of interesting. And then Cameron Diaz and Christina Applegate are like, look, we know you're sad because you just broke up with this guy you've been with for almost a year, but hey, let's hit the club and find some hot guys to bang. And they give her this horrible relationship advice about, you shouldn't make yourself too open. Try and like push the guy back and smash the patriarchy and smash those guys. Either you're like, yeah, smash the patriarchy, or your penis is so big, I'm singing about penises. You can't really do both. Either it's a raunchy comedy about these, promiscuous women who want to have a lot of sex with a lot of guys, which is perfectly okay. They're young, they're young and they want to go out and have a bunch of fun. Or it's a by-the-numbers romantic comedy like The Wedding Singer about, I want to go on my search for the one true guy. It can't really be both. And, especially if you're trying to at the same time be like, yeah, you shouldn't have a committed relationship. Jane is the only remotely likable character. And I think the movie would be much better if she was the main character, because she's the only one who suffers even remotely. Like, for instance, Cameron Diaz just calls her a slut in the middle of the street, and she's embarrassed because she has a stain on her dress, and she got a little too raunchy last night and she wants to keep it under wraps. But oh no, here comes Cameron Diaz and Christina Applegate, and they take the dress and they're like, you're a slut, and you have too much sex with guys, which isn't at all what we do, even though we're at the clubs every flipping night. Like, how can they call Jane a slut when Cameron is established as like San Francisco's #1 guy hopper? I mean, how did this movie contradicts itself so much? But I think that's just kind of an example of Cameron Diaz's character being a complete jerk, and the movie expects us to be like, yes, this is a likable and relatable protagonist here. This is someone you want to root for, but she's just not. She's horrible to her friend. I mean, Selma Blair just is like this, naive. She's just kind of naive, and I think this movie would be much more interesting if she was the main character, because she's the only kind of likable one who doesn't do anything stupid or malevolent throughout the whole movie, except participating in the penis song, which might be one of the worst sins anyone could commit ever. My God, I'll never be able to get that thing out of my head. I honestly think that the people behind this movie actually wanted to, pretend as if this was as good as There's Something About Mary, which it's just not, because it's not that. It's a different movie. The ending is possibly the worst I've ever seen in any movie. I mean, it's not exactly the ending, but it happens after the whole road trip thing. Once Cameron and Christina Applegate get back to the apartment in San Fran, so as if the movie hasn't already humiliated Selma Blair's character Jane enough and talked about how her sexual promiscuity is a bad thing, even though, like I said, Cameron Diaz's character is very promiscuous, and she's like, yeah, I go out with 100 guys a night. This movie feels it's necessary to completely just make Selma Blair's character it's genuinely awful. And the only description I'm going to give of it is that it's a ripoff from the zipper scene in There's Something About Mary, except instead of that, the joke is that Selma Blair has got her herself stuck onto a guy while giving him some, oral pleasure, and she's stuck. I guess just because he has a piercing. It makes no sense. This isn't an observed sexual phenomenon. This has never happened, and it's just in there for the shock value to make the audience go, "Oh my God, the movie went there." And it's like, went where? This does not happen. I really doubt this is an experience that's based off the screenwriter's experiences in San Francisco, getting caught whilst in the midst of rapture. I don't think this is a thing that happens very often. And it's the exact same as the zipper scene, like shot for shot. There's all these policemen and all these firemen, and they're clustered around the scene, except there's something about Mary. It works because, that is actually something that could happen. You could get one's genitals stuck in a zipper, and that's painful, and you identify with Ben Stiller because he's in a scenario that's physically possible. And it's not like Selma Blair's character just being in this situation that nobody has ever been in the history of anything. Like that's not something that's ever been recorded as happening, and it's just honestly surprising. The thing with how it happens isn't what shocks me. What shocks me is that this movie actually thought it could just completely rip off There's Something About Mary and think it could get away with it. And that's just really sad. I might be the first person ever to point out that this scene is just a ripoff, but it is just a ripoff. It's just a really lame ripoff with none of the, this movie wants to be a Farrelly Brothers movie. There's the part where Cameron and Christina literally dress up as Dumb and Dumber. To trick the viewer into thinking it's a Farrelly Brothers movie or something. There's just no other explanation. And the fact that this movie honestly thinks it's as funny or clever as Dumb and Dumber or There's Something About Mary is just really, really insulting. I mean, the lady who wrote this clearly has way too much confidence in her screenwriting capabilities. Like I said, this script contradicts itself all the time. It's one contradiction and continuity error after another. The plot is the most bare minimum you could ask for in a romantic comedy for it to be called a movie, and nothing is funny. None of it is humorous. It's just women talking about penises. Good for you. Great job. You like having sex. Go have sex off screen and quit talking about how many guys you get in a night. It's not a feminist movie. It's just a cheap cash grab that's trying to bank off the success of Cameron Diaz and be like, yeah, this is, you saw There's Something About Mary, well, this is the real raunchy stuff right here. This is the actual, this goes in places you never thought Something About Mary would go. And that's just because Something About Mary has taste and reservation and only makes the raunchy jokes when it's appropriate for the story. And I guess maybe whoever wrote this, their name even on the back here? Yeah, Nancy M. Pimentel. He sounds like a pimento. I guess that's something that she just doesn't understand. And it's nice to think that she really thought that her experiences were interesting enough to make a whole movie off of? Probably not. Maybe just, write TV shows or something. I don't know. Oh my god, the back cover of this VHS tape says that Parker Posey's in this. Where was Parker Posey in this whole mess? Where's Park? Because she's in good movies, like Party Girl, which is a good movie. How's she in this? The bride. That's right. She was the bride who the main hot guy was going to get married to. That was Parker Posey. God, her career really just tanked. I mean, Party Girl is such a good movie, and here she's in this garbage film, and now she's Dr. Smith on the new Lost in Space. It's one of the most bizarre career transitions I think I've ever seen. Oh my gosh. How's Parker Posey in this? I never would have noticed. Because, I mean, her face is covered by, like, a veil most of the time. But that was Parker flippin' Posey? Jeez. What's she doing in this? Anyway, when it comes to The Sweetest Thing, which is Diaz is a knockout and a scream. Yeah, I'll say she's a scream. You'll be screaming at your TV hoping that the movie is over soon, because you can only take the penis jokes and glory hole jokes and oral jokes for so long. I'm gonna give The Sweetest Thing 1 star. It has the unique achievement of being the first movie I have reviewed on this with just 1 star, not 2 stars like I gave to One Good Cop, because even that has some unintentionally funny moments. I give this 1 star.
What is this? Oh, jeez. I don't know. I don't even know.
Which is pretty much 0 stars. I don't have a rating of 0 stars. 1 star is utter garbage barrel vomit, just like the lowest caliber of quality you can. I'm giving this 1 star. Taking all these talented actresses, flipping Parker Posey, jeez, and stuffing them in here and trying to pretend like it's a feminist movie, even though the whole movie is just dedicated to a message of, being promiscuous is fun, but I'm approaching 30, so I'd better just get married. It's just, how can a movie lack this much self-awareness? Like, it's legitimately an interesting feat. This movie is easily as bad as a lot of early 2000s rom-com. I don't know how this doesn't get brought up as much as, like, Jiggly or Giggly or whatever that, Ben Affleck thing is called. Because this is easily as bad, not to mention it has Cameron Diaz, who's in good stuff like Vanilla Sky. How doesn't this get talked about more? It really should, because it is an example of a weird period in American history. And this came out the year I was born, 2002, which just makes me sick to my stomach. I thought this kind of just raunchy sex comedy went out with, the millennium. I thought the last one was American Pie, and after that it was Enlightened, but I guess it took a while for comedies to reach a level of sophistication where they could refrain from mentioning penises every 5 seconds. Honestly, this is one of the most tasteless garbage comedies, and Parker Posey's in it. Like, geez. How many people does this Nancy Pimentel person know? I've never heard of her. Like, gosh dang. If you want to watch an actual good movie, about women in the city, then watch Party Girl with Parker Posey. And if you want a feminist road trip movie, which this definitely isn't, then go ahead and watch Thelma and Louise. I got Thelma and Louise on VHS. I'm going to be reviewing it soon, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it more than this steaming dumpster pile of cliches, inconsistencies, and jokes that have no setup and no punchline and aren't told like jokes. A movie with zero romantic appeal, zero comedic appeal. It doesn't appeal to people who are interested in romantic movies. It doesn't appeal to people who are interested in comedies. I don't know who the target audience for this is. Maybe like 28-year-olds living in San Francisco. Maybe they'd enjoy it. I don't know. It's a bizarrely specific demographic to try to appeal to. And I'm just gonna say that this movie is legitimately one of the worst things I've ever seen. I mean, Cameron Diaz should be in a good movie these days, because she's still a great actress, and I'm sure she still has some fine stuff under her belt. I hope she comes out of retirement and makes something interesting. I'm sure. She's not hot anymore, but I'm sure she still has an interesting movie in her. And maybe this was what ended her career. Well, I guess not, because she was in Charlie's Angels about the same time. But, it's just honestly sad to see, so many talented actresses in this colossal disaster. I think it honestly hurts feminism way more than it empowers women or anything. Imagine if there's some woman out there who's not Cameron Diaz. She's not the hottest, woman out there, and she lives in San Francisco, and she's like, why can't I get all these guys that Cameron Diaz has? And she sees Cameron Diaz bragging about, I have 100 guys a night, and she's like, why can't I have that many guys? And this movie honestly just sets up unrealistic standards for the woman of today, and this movie just makes no sense. It's a mess politically. I won't even try to untangle how politically screwed up this movie is, and how bad it is at gender studies or relationship relevance, because it's a confusing mess. But that's The Sweetest Thing. Obviously, I guess the title is referring to a male genital. I don't even know at this point. Everything's a euphemism for penis in this. It's just one garbage sex joke after another, and I'm very tired, so I'm going to wrap this review up. 1 star. Don't watch this. Not even for fun. It's not worth watching. Go ahead and watch There's Something About Mary. Much better. Cameron Diaz works in that, and it has Ben Stiller and Lee Evans, and it's funny, and Chris Elliott, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in the box, and I'm never gonna have to look at it again. Thank gosh. Only 1 hour and 20 minutes of suffering, and I'm out. Sayonara, sucker.
Why was this cut from the DVD? It's hilarious. The whole movie is pretty dirty anyway. It's along the lines of Dumb and Dumber, but a bit smarter and
I don't know why so few people know this song. It's so funny. I feel like because it's women being funny in 2002, it's possible I love this wasn't
Now, about 7 years later, I still laugh my head off every time I see this
movie on Prime the other night, and it didn't show this part. I was upset. I don't know why. It's the best part.
This is something I do with my friends. Best musical numbers. I don't know why any newer versions of the movie don't include this scene. It is one of the funniest scenes in the movie.
Laughing. I laugh every time I watch
It was
it.
on the unrated version of the movie, not on the theatrical version. You gotta love it.
Study this movie. This is how women
I remember
successfully
feeling
make
so
quality
scandalous
movies.
watching this movie on late night TV
One of the
back when I
best
was 10
comedies
years
I've
old.
ever seen.
I think this
Just
movie
right
plays
in
the
this.
biggest
The
part
gold
of my
scene's
sexual
right after, and
awakening
also
years.
funny as hell. They cut this scene from all the streaming channels. You can only see it here or on the DVD. Same with the really angry guy in the opening credits. They removed the whole lesbian thing from the ex-boyfriend
This movie is so
montage.
underrated. Love it. Sex
I don't
and the City
remember this
vibes.
from the VHS that I rented in 2003. Haha. Watching a Tele Latino right now. Very funny and raunchy tune. I think the lip gloss / car scene is coming up soon.